Hey, Facebook, welcome back. Elizabeth Nader here. I'm so excited to see you guys again. We are New Jersey Women for Trump. Also tonight, we are streaming on 5 other Republican pages. So I thank you to all those audiences and those admins for bringing us on. And tonight, I'm so excited to bring you just a firecracker in the GOP, somebody who definitely is going to let you know what he thinks and what he's going to do to help us change the state. Old Bridge Councilman Mark Razzoli, Old Bridge Township. Thank you so much for being here, Mark.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's an honor to be here. Thanks for your time.
Well, we have a lot to talk about, but I want to make sure that everybody knows who you are. I mean, I've gotten a lot of responses today, but there's some people who may not have had a chance to hear from you before. So let's get everybody on the same page. Mark, tell them about your background, who you are, what your career has been in both law enforcement and in politics.
Yeah, sure. I'm a retired Jersey City police detective. I work narcotics, robbery, violent crimes. I used to be a Democrat at one time.
Right.
Once it was hijacked by the radical socialists, I switched because, I didn't take an oath to a party. I took an oath to uphold and support the Constitution.
Absolutely.
And the radical policies that endanger American lives is something that, I'm going to fight every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've been serving how long on city council?
It's over 3 years now. And this year's re-election, so I'm looking forward to it. I love it. I love talking to people and communicating and meeting with different people throughout the community. I'm committed to my community, and it's great.
Yep, you have that famous speech that you gave. What date was that? Because I love that. Everyone needs to go watch that on YouTube.
Wow. So it was back in July 19. What's interesting about that speech? I got into the whole thing about picking and choosing what laws you like or dislike. I even brought up anarchy.
Yeah,
and I got a lot of, as you can imagine, I got a lot of fan mail from the socialists about that. So even during the meeting, I was called a racist, Nazi, Hitler. I lost track. But
wow.
Interesting. One thing I think any member of law enforcement will tell you: you get called so many names during your career. Anything they say to me now is irrelevant. It doesn't bother me at all. So because it's about. Listen, in the post 9/11 world, we shouldn't be having this conversation. We shouldn't be no conversation about abolishing Homeland Security, ICE. It's just.
Crazy.
It's so reckless. The identity politics has gotten so out of control.
Yeah.
When did the American citizen become a second-class citizen in our own country? It's really disgraceful. It's unacceptable. It has to be unacceptable.
Good question. And so in 2019, you left the party, which I think is a huge statement, right? And you always say that they left you. So talk about how you felt about the Democrats, how you feel about them now. Do you recognize them?
Listen, it's like any party. There's still a lot of good people there. I'm not going to trash them, but the reality of it is the party was hijacked by the radical socialists and their policies. Right. I think you see that every day. I mean, look at Joe Biden. The moment he gets into office, he signed one radical thing after another.
Yeah,
he might have signed his trust away to China. We don't know. I think he lost track of what he's signing.
I'm not sure he knows what he's signing. Apparently today he said that. I'm not sure what I'm signing. So how do you want to grade his first few days as our new president?
Oh, impeachment?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean,
it's been frustrating, hasn't it? Go back to the election. As you're watching all of that take place, what are you thinking? This election is stolen? You think that the fraud was real? Where do you land on that?
Listen, I could speak with great confidence. Voter fraud began the moment we flooded mailboxes with vote by mails. Okay,
I agree.
There's a big difference between a vote by mail and an absentee ballot. Absentee ballot, someone requests. When you start just flooding mailboxes, there's no way to have voter integrity.
Right.
Okay, so myself and the other Old Bridge Council members, Republican Council, we sponsored a resolution calling for voter ID in New Jersey, which there should be no problem with, right?
Right.
I mean, you need a photo ID to go into Costco and BJ's. What's wrong with having a voter ID?
Right.
This way, you'll never have these issues again. This way, you will never have another candidate claiming that an election was stolen or anything. Listen, you're always going to have people that's going to try to cheat. I think we can all agree with that. We have to be, apply common sense to this. But I think putting a safeguard in place to prevent it, I think it's just common sense.
Yeah, it is common sense. Voter ID is common sense. And no one can understand why the other side pushes back, except that they don't want it so that they can manipulate the system. I think people are so frustrated, Mark. They're looking at 2021. We're coming up on 120 seats up, plus the governor race in New Jersey. Yet we have Dominion in 80% of the counties. And I'm not saying that, Dominion caused fraud in New Jersey, but it is there. We've got this vote by mail. It was really a bit of a mess. how do we tell voters that they have any chance of having their vote counted correctly in New Jersey this year?
Well, listen, I always tell everyone the way good people push back on this, peacefully protest and go vote. Because that's all they understand is vote. You have to go vote. You have to be engaged, get engaged locally. Good people have to start speaking out. I know right now the radical left has a lot of good people intimidated. We have to say for what it is.
Yeah.
But those good people in communities like mine, Old Bridge, we're the 15th safest in the country. I mean, we have great people here in Old Bridge.
Right.
I love hearing from them and everything. They know what our community is made of, and sticking together, protecting our local communities, and that takes them getting engaged.
Yeah.
Whether it's running for local office. I mean, we need to start concentrating locally.
Yes.
Put the national stuff behind us now. It's time to concentrate locally.
Yeah, I agree so much with you. And part of that concentrating, though, is looking at the party and looking at, different candidates and leadership and really trying to get more people involved. Every day I get people saying, I'm not even going to vote. Why bother? And that really concerns me. And we're also hearing a lot of people leaving the party and filing as unaffiliated or independent, which means they're not part of the primary. So there's a lot of education that needs to take place to get people back involved. But let's talk about local politics for a second, because I think you're the epitome of someone who's focused on and committed to helping your community. You're right. DC is what it is now, and it's difficult for us to swallow, but there it is. So now we have to start making changes locally. So how do you advise people and help them understand how they can run for Board of Education, for City Council, County Committee, right? All these different opportunities to be able to feel empowered.
Listen, just send me an email. mark@razzoli.com. If you're confused anyway, I'll gladly walk you through the process. But yeah, get involved with your local county committee. Run for Board of Ed. I mean, right now there's a lot of parents. I've been speaking to them. They're very upset. We need to get our schools reopened. It's time to reopen our schools. Okay.
Right.
I'm tired of hearing excuses. Okay. The NJEA was not elected to govern this state.
Amen.
Okay? It's time for them to start speaking up and defending our children, speaking up for the parents who they're hearing from, even teachers. Teachers want to go back to school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's time that, the Board of Education and the superintendents all start working together with the teachers unions, and we need to open our damn schools up. I'm so tired of hearing excuses. It's just one excuse after the other. Yeah. Listen, think out of the box. That's one great thing about meeting with parents. You sit there and you listen to them, and those teachers who feel like they're vulnerable to the virus, well, assign them all to the virtual. For people who choose not to go in person, assign those teachers to virtual. We have to start coming up with solutions, not about excuses. I listened to our Board of Ed meeting. I'm tired of hearing people say, well, I don't care. I'm not worried about a popularity contest. Well, if you're on the Board of Ed, there's nothing about a popularity contest to get our schools reopened. Okay. Right. People can no longer call into our Board of Ed meetings for some strange reason. They have to submit their, what they want to say. So I don't know what that is all about, but I think we need to start getting these schools open. Listen, we're creating a mental health crisis now.
Big one.
I hear from parents about how their children are regressing in class, anxiety. I mean, we can go on and on about it. And I really appreciate the parents reaching out for me, because I've been waiting for it. Yeah, and it's a great thing. They formed a group, the Old Bridge parents, and formed a group, and they're a tremendous group of people. They're just listen. They're not looking to create any turmoil in town. They want their kids back in school. They want what's best for our children. Listen, our children need an education. They need to socialize with other kids. It's time to get the kids back into school. And I hold Phil Murphy responsible for this. Yeah, he played identity politics, even with the vaccine. Yeah, letting it go to criminals first. It should have been offered to the teachers first. Listen, no one's saying to mandate the vaccine on anyone. Right, but at least they should have been given the opportunity, whether they choose or not, to take the vaccine. Right. We have to start working to get these kids back into school, because I feel really bad for them. I feel bad for the parents. When I hear the parents, you can hear the anguish in their voice. Yeah, it's a mess. Listen, I'm gonna, if people don't like what I have to say on the school board or the local teachers union, listen, you didn't elect me. Yeah, the people who I'm meeting with elected me. That's right. And I'm gonna fight like hell for them and our children.
Yeah.
And it's not just Oldbridge, it's statewide. Listen, this is a statewide issue.
Yeah. Well, it's a countrywide issue. I mean, that article you and I talked about from Las Vegas, now they're almost in an emergency way trying to open schools there. They've had a flood of suicides. We have gone on for so long doing this. We are now starting to see not only the businesses closing, 30% of them small businesses in New Jersey closing, but our children. I mean, God forbid we see a wave of suicides. I know that it's already on the rise. And in Las Vegas, they're seeing really a massive emergency situation. This is what we have done to our kids with no forethought. Nobody thought through how is this going to affect them. And no one seems to be pulling back on this and saying, fix it now. Who's going to be the person that finally does it? We're only governed by one man right now. That's the truth.
Well, I tell the parents here in Oldbridge, time to be heard.
Yeah.
I'll be standing right with them. We'll protest the next Saturday. And, it's time to be heard.
Yeah.
It's time to be heard. It's time to be heard. And send Governor Murphy a message. Listen, Governor Murphy he's obsessed with, illegal immigration.
Yeah.
Put the same effort that they put into rolling out these driver's license for illegals on May 1st, right? Put that same effort into getting our schools reopened again.
Right.
That'd be a great thing. The millions of dollars the NJE who now want to be, they want to play politics now. Well, all those millions have been given to Phil Murphy's, PAC. Put that money towards helping these schools reopen.
Right.
I mean, come on, let's go. Get it together here.
Right.
I shouldn't have to tell them that. Their job is to advocate for the children, not with politicians.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think they want to go back anytime soon. So this is definitely the teacher union. This is definitely coming to a head. We need leadership. What I don't understand, and I don't know if you have any insight into it, what is Murphy using as his decision point, his science, his data to determine that kids cannot go back to school or in certain cases shouldn't or should shut down after a positive test? I don't even know. Do you know what data it is?
Listen, I've requested a spreadsheet twice. I still haven't received it.
Nobody knows.
No one knows. I think, listen, I question the numbers, the validity of the numbers.
Yeah.
Listen, if you have nothing to hide, produce the so-called science.
Right.
That's all we ask for. Let's see the numbers.
Yeah. Treat us like intelligent people. I mean, I think we all, if we look at real science, we can all make intelligent decisions. But at this point now, it seems like the finish line keeps moving. And I don't know what the measuring tool is. Now we're seeing even from DC, have you noticed lately how the message is changing now? I think
it's amazing after the election.
Yeah, after the election. Isn't it obvious? Like what Biden said, there's no plan really. We can't really do much with the virus. Right. But before the election, apparently he had a plan. I don't know what it was. So this is beyond frustrating. So we got to focus on Jersey. Let's talk about the governor race. Really important year for us. Really important year to recapture that. What do you look at when you look at the field, and what do you think our chances are?
Listen, I endorse and support Jack Ciattarelli. I think he's the man who can save our state, because I say save our state because if Phil Murphy gets reelected, the state's in trouble.
Oh, yes.
Jack's a leader. I talk to Jack often, and I put all my support behind Jack. He's the guy to lead us back.
So you've officially endorsed him?
I am now.
Yeah.
Part of your show.
Breaking news right here on the show. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the GOP can come together enough to elect a GOP candidate to beat Murphy?
Absolutely. I think, it's time for leaders to lead. I think, we discussed it earlier, locally, the local GOPs have to get together and get behind one candidate.
Yeah.
Put all the internal nonsense aside. If you're really running for your community, you're really running for your state, it's time to put up.
Yeah.
As I say, get a glove and get in the game.
You do see, though, a lot of people who are frustrated, a lot of people who feel disenfranchised. It feels like the Democrats have always had this unity, and I'm not sure that we have had it. Do you have any suggestions for bringing us back together? How do we do that? Because I can tell you every day people are saying, I don't feel like the party recognized, especially the MAGA movement, especially the Trump movement. They feel like they don't have a seat at the table, Mark.
Well, I think the problem has been, the radical socialists using their media outlets have been basically trying to make it the American people fear the GOP as opposed to the CCP.
Yeah.
Let's face it. We have to say it for what it is.
Yeah.
So that's why I think our leadership needs to step up. I think, I said earlier, it's time to put DC behind us and concentrate locally, and let's pick good candidates and get behind our candidates and get them reelected. listen, I can tell you right here in Old Bridge, we have some bad people calling to our council meeting. They want needle exchanges in Old Bridge. I've been texted by a member of the Old Bridge Socialist Committee writing forward things about my wife. I had to get a police report. I was being harassed. That's how low these people have gone.
Yeah.
They don't like the fact that I'm now standing up for us, our students, our children. Listen, if you're an elected official, you should not have to be told to stand up for your children.
Amen.
No matter where you represent. That your job is to represent everybody, and especially protect our children. Listen, Trenton has no problem passing radical curriculum changes on our kids. You know what? Put that effort to get our schools reopened. Why? Yeah. Where is that effort? I mean, that question has to be asked.
Right.
The NJE has to answer to the parents. Why aren't you assisting the state in reopening? What, Governor Murphy? Stop making excuses. Stop blaming Walgreens.
Right.
For Trump's not around no more, so we can't blame Trump. So now it's Walgreens' fault. Let's go. He has to answer for it.
Yeah.
And the parents should hold them all accountable. Hold all the superintendents accountable. They're all making a lot of money. Why weren't plans in place? Why weren't things installed during the summer? Plexiglass barriers, whatever the CD guidelines were put in place to get our schools reopened. It's time to stop. It's time to stop making excuses. We want to see results.
Yeah. Agreed. Absolutely. I'm curious, with your law enforcement background, how does that change the way you govern or look at things? Because, this past summer had to be frustrating for you to see all the riots and all the damage and the violence and really no pushback, right? And now, of course, what happened in DC and everyone's been vilified. But how do you, as a previous law enforcement official, how do you look at things differently?
Well, it was very frustrating, especially the fact that you had Democratic candidates running for vice president that were embracing rapists, not visiting police officers who sit in their radio cars and they attempted to assassinate them.
Right.
But this is the whole identity politics, right? Illegal immigration, embracing the criminal element of society. That's why I'm not a Democrat no more. I'm not about this. Then you have elected officials who want to see the president fail.
Right.
For their own political gain in Congress. Right. Could you imagine people in the House of Representatives hoping our president fails, hoping our country fails?
No.
So they just for political gains. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
You have people like the Squad there. I call them the Trojan horse.
Yeah. That's true.
Instead of being what the American dream is about, they just want to beat our country down. If you don't like it here, leave. That's what I say.
Right.
You came here. We don't assimilate to you. You assimilate to us. Stop trying to change our country.
Right. But
I just want to make it perfectly clear too.
Yeah.
I don't get intimidated because a criminal grabs a bullhorn and starts protesting. Okay? I never ran from a criminal before. I'm not about to start.
Yeah.
I think people need to understand that it's time to be heard. It's time to stand our ground. Your community, as elected official, you're expected to stand your ground to the mob and defend your community. I don't care where you're a representative at or you're elected official. That's your job. Not to say, let them burn down the whole town. Let them vent. That's unacceptable.
Right. The things that were said, I believe it was our vice president now who said the protests should continue. Right. We heard the media say, who says that protests have to be peaceful? And all of that, of course, changed. I think we're living in an age of extreme hypocrisy. It's just on full display, and they don't seem to care about that. We do have the midterms coming up, and they're not that far away, right? Things move quickly. Do you think that the GOP can get it together enough to have a big win in the midterms and be able to turn things around in DC?
Absolutely. I think just the executive orders that Joe Biden's signing, really says what they're about. You have Bernie Sanders chairing the budget committee. That's like giving a key to a bank robber.
Yes,
it's insane.
Yeah.
He just wants to spend everybody's money. So, we got Pete Buttigieg on another committee who couldn't even run the South Bend, Indiana. He made a mess there.
Yeah.
We can go on and on. Next thing you know, Hunter Biden's going to be the director of the DEA, the way it's going with his appointments. I'm expecting everything out of these people.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. And, we look at the evolution of everything. You were involved in 9/11. I know you spent time at Ground Zero.
Yes.
You remember the unity that we had back then.
Listen, just getting on the tugboats from Jersey City. So a lot of people don't know we had triage in case anyone got hurt. Just the patriotism alone the energy you didn't even have before you even got over there. That's why I am the way I am when it comes to immigration, because the 19 hijackers all had different forms of the Department of Motor Vehicle ID throughout the country.
Right.
And two of them were on the watch list. So how much confidence can we have in the DMV to vet people? Right. And I think people need to understand, once you give somebody a driver's license, you validate their existence in our country. They can get a library card. They can get a credit card. You know, in terrorist camps, if you read the 9/11 report, they don't want, once a terrorist is in our country, they don't want them traveling from state to state with a passport, because that raises red flags.
Right.
They want to get some type of form of ID immediately.
Right.
And that's what it's all about. That's why, we, as elected officials, our job is to make sure that never happens again.
Right. Of course.
And right now, identity politics is more important than national security and public safety. And that's disgusting.
I really worry about that. I really worry about that. And what Murphy is doing with the, illegal immigrants in terms of giving them, right, their driver's license. Of course, that's been delayed, but I think it's May now that's all come together for them. And the numbers that will flood in, it's scary.
Listen, if you're a state that incentivizes illegal immigration, of course they're going to come.
Right.
Especially as given, free legal aid, millions of dollars, free college education. How about taking that money and putting it towards getting what we need to get our schools reopened?
Yeah, absolutely.
I keep hearing about dreamers. How about American children? They have a right to dream, the last time I heard. Joe Biden just, with his pen, just basically abolished female sports.
That's insane what he did.
Yeah.
It's even the feminists are saying, what are you doing? Yeah. Why are we catering to a 0.000? I don't even know what it is, but it's a tiny percentage of our country. And we've changed all the rules for that. Why are we doing that? What's going on?
I think the question, why are we allowing these radical socialists to now target our children?
Yeah.
To get into the school system.
Right. I think
people really need to open their eyes and say, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah.
And stand their ground on this. It's very disturbing.
It is disturbing. And speaking of that, in our state, Murphy has a bill that I guess he's expected to sign. It's on his desk, I believe now, which is about really, bringing the indoctrination down to kindergarten in terms of teaching kids about gender identity and all of this that is supposed to be under the guise of, not discriminating against others, but it's really indoctrination. And do you want your kindergartner learning that at school? I mean, I'm amazed that it passed both houses and it's now on his desk to sign. And parents are outraged, and they should be by that.
They should be. Let parents be parents.
Right.
Why are they doing this to our children?
Right. Right.
Let children be children. Why confuse them?
Right.
Right. I think, kids need to be kids.
Yeah.
And you're going to hear me say this a lot, Elizabeth. It's really about their identity politics.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. It's about their radical socialist agenda. And now that they moved it from, illegal immigration, open borders, now they're targeting children. It's really disturbing. And I think every parent out there has a right to be outraged.
Well, I'm glad that you're standing up for parents. And I know in your town, they're rallying around you and you're helping them. How do we create that model in other towns where they feel like their voice isn't being heard? They have to find somebody on city council who's willing to stand up for them. They have to find somebody on board of ed who's willing to stand up for them. How do we recreate that model so we can start to get some of these schools opened? Listen,
I encourage parents, whoever's watching this, reach out to your local officials, call, communicate with them, tell them, you have a responsibility to stick up for, our children.
Right.
Even if you disagree with some of the parents, you have to defend our children. That's what it's all about.
Right.
At the end of the day.
And we can do this safely. We can do this, however you define that, we can do this safely. And by the way, the science shows that kids are not high transmitters of this infection. They're just not. The science doesn't back it up. But yet we've got these kids locked in a room on Zoom day in and day out, and it's too much for them. And they're not the high risk audience here. No,
and Zoom that sometimes doesn't even work properly for the children.
Yeah, well, it's
I was talking to to the parents, and a lot of them have Wi-Fi issues or some type of internet issues sometimes.
Sure.
In the morning. I mean, there's a lot of issues involved here. And, listen, it's not just a radical agenda. Now you have Democratic Senator Joe Vitale wants to mandate the COVID-19 vaccine for school-age children. I mean, that's insane.
For kids.
It hasn't even been approved yet, right?
It's not even approved, and they want to tell. I mean, why parents don't want to abdicate parenting? I'm sorry, but stop Stop.
Well, what happened to my body? What happened to my body, my choice?
It's not. I'll never understand that, Mark. It's
Right?
that rallying cry that the moment you start to talk about all these other things outside of the life issue, it's no longer your body, your choice. And the vaccine specifically. Look, if you want the vaccine, that should be your choice. It is not approved. It's in emergency status right now anyway, and it's not approved for kids that young. What are we thinking? I mean, is that what's going to make us feel safe? And I read about it and they say, well, you still can transmit the virus. You still have to mask up. Where's the end game here? I can't find the end game.
Well, I think a lot of these elected officials are drinking the Kool-Aid in Trenton, right? Phil Murphy's basically established that he can trample all over our civil rights with his executive orders. So everybody's latching on now.
Right.
It goes from the radical, curriculum changes to now vaccines.
Yeah.
Keep the schools closed. Like I said, the teachers unions don't run my township and they don't run our state, especially the NJEA. It's time they start working, and the parents have a right to hear from them. What's their official stance on reopening all schools? The teachers the parents have a right to hear from these teachers unions.
Right. What is
the taxpayers? They have a right to hear.
Yep.
So
Yep.
If you want to reopen, start working together, and let's get these schools reopened.
Yep. I agree. I hope more people are listening to that. So listen, you ran for Congress, and I think you were considering another run for state senate.
Well, you know what? Listen, everything's on the table. I love being I love being a local councilman, but when I see what's going on in Trenton, when I see elected officials down there abstaining from this radical, this radical curriculum changes, you weren't elected to abstain.
Right.
Guess what? Sometimes you have to stand up and take a stand and vote no on something. Don't abstain.
Yeah. Agreed.
So I think probably at some point, I wouldn't mind going down to Trenton.
Yeah.
And speaking for the people, defending our children.
Right.
It's important. I think there's just too much of attack right now on the American way of life.
Yes.
And it has to be unacceptable.
Yeah, it absolutely. And people are leaving Jersey in droves. You were born and raised in Jersey, right?
Correct. Jersey City.
Jersey City.
That's probably why my accent a little bit,
No, I didn't hear anything at all.
I know.
It's definitely there. So you see people leaving in droves. I mean, I have friends that are leaving every month. They're more leaving. We don't seem to be stopping the bleeding. We need to give them a reason to stay here. But the problem is your kids can't afford to stay here. There are no jobs, right? And it's too expensive. So all of that needs to be fixed. How do we begin to even fix all of that? I mean, we're on such a slippery slope already.
Well, it starts with new leadership in Trenton. I mean, we need a new governor. I think Jack's the guy to do that. And, we'll start there. But we talked about, you have to start locally. Yeah. Yeah. I think, having a fiscally responsible council and mayor is very important.
Yeah.
And school board too. I tell the parents, the parents run for school board. You need a voice there.
Right. Absolutely. I want everyone to hear that. We really want to encourage people rather than to back away with the frustration.
Join county committee.
Join county committee. You're upset with the party, join county committee. You can start to change things there. You're upset with the schools, run for school board. I mean, in some towns, you could write your name in and get on school board. I mean, it depends on the town, right? Run for city council. We really need to start to step up. And I want to tell everybody too, and I know you and I talked about this, there's a lot of voter roll cleanup efforts and election integrity efforts starting all over the state, and people can get involved. You can help clean up voter rolls in your neighborhood. You've just got to stand up and say, I want to do something with this frustration. Not everyone's going to run for office, but everybody can do something. Otherwise, our republic is literally on the table. Like it may not come back. I don't mean to be an alarmist, but it feels like you said before, our way of life is at risk. And that's what we're all concerned about.
Listen, patriotism is not racism. There's nothing wrong with being a proud American. And I understand. Listen, a lot of people are intimidated right now because, politics has become very, very volatile. I mean, like we talked earlier, it's a full contact sport now. Yeah. But I think good people are going to have to step up and stop being heard. Yeah. Because we can't allow this radical agenda to continue. It's going to ruin our country.
It is going to
ruin it's ruining our state. I mean, you've had people locked down with these draconian executive orders. You have our children a mess with not going to school, but yet you want to open the border and let millions of people come across our border who haven't been tested, haven't been vaccinated. In the meantime, you're destroying families, you're destroying businesses, you're destroying people. Yeah. I mean, I think we're forgetting also about the suicides.
Yeah.
The drug abuse, the alcohol abuse that's going on. You don't hear the governor talk about that.
Nope, you don't. Nope, you
I think he's too busy leaping across the stage all the time.
Yeah.
In between,
And not, he wants us to quarantine if we leave the state, but apparently he doesn't have to. So, I mean, everybody knows
there's your hypocrisy right there, right?
Again, it's the year of hypocrisy on full display.
You can go to Costco and with all those people there, but you can't go to a local restaurant, get a bowl of pasta if there's too many people in there. So there's just different rules for different folks right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what about the super spreader they had in DC?
Yes.
I mean, besides Murphy being there was a lot of other radical governors there that had these draconian lockdowns.
Right.
So there is a lot of hypocrisy everywhere.
Yeah. We need to change it all. So we have 120 seats this year to fight for, right? To fight for in our state, plus the governor's race. So we want to see you fighting alongside of us. I know you have a great voice in your town. I know you have a lot of support. I think you're an important voice in the GOP. And I believe you'll probably be running something in the future, something bigger. I see that happening, but we need you to continue to do what you're doing on a local level, because that's where change right now is really going to happen while we fight for these other seats. If we can flip 5 Senate seats in this state, that's kind of our focus, flip 5. We can start to see ourselves get back in some measure of influence. Of course, that would mean that the Murphy has to stop being king for a while and actually let our legislators legislate. But of course, eventually that will happen. So just fight along with us, Mark, and help us to flip those seats. I think we can do it.
Listen, I think being an elected official, governing, it's all about common sense, right? Public safety is the foundation for your community.
Yes.
That's where basically that's what generates your local economy, your school system, it maintains your quality tax base. I mean, it's common sense.
Right.
But unfortunately, you have there's an element right now that's not about doing what's best for the American people.
Right.
Not about good government. I'm about good government. I'm retired. I got involved with politics. I've been protecting and serving my entire adult life. It's just in my genes and my blood. I can't help it. So I'll continue, and especially, listen, I'll never, ever stop defending our children.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that. We really do appreciate that. So glad to have you in the fight, Mark, and I appreciate you coming on and letting us know what you're doing there. I know a lot of parents tonight are watching that are in your community and cheering you on, and I know you're standing up for them and for our kids. And listen, if we do nothing else, we need to fight for them. Everything else aside, this is our future and we're in trouble. So we've got to fight for these kids and get life back to normal for them, so they have a future, they can have dreams, and they have a hope, really, to grow up in the country that you and I did. And I appreciate you for your service, for your law enforcement service, your public service, and really your tenacity to keep fighting for what's right.
Thank you. Listen, I just want to thank all the parents out there. I'm just one voice. If it wasn't for you reaching out for me and forming your group, we're only as strong as the group.
Yeah, that's true.
Teams win championships, not individuals. So that's how I
love that. I love that, Mark. I love that. Well, listen, thank you so much for everything. Thanks for coming on. We'll do this again, and we'll see you on the campaign trail, whatever that means. But Mark, thank you so much for being a part of everything we're trying to do.
Thank you. Great being here. Thank you.
All right, guys.